Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in Denver? Well, after living here for 4 years now, I love the neighborhoods, I love the people, I love the lifestyle, but it's not all sunshine and mountain views. Whether you're thinking of moving here or just curious about the Mile High City, this video is for you. I'll be going over the highs, the lows, and everything in between about my thoughts, especially coming from San Diego and moving over to the Denver area from sea level going to Mile High. So all of that will be explained in this video. So I moved over here to the Denver area in August of 2020, and it was in the heat of COVID and a really weird time to make friends, right? Nonetheless, I found my tribe pretty quickly here in Denver, and that's one thing I really realized about Denver is that it's really easy to find friends within the club or the interest or the hobby that you're really into yourself. Whether it's running or hiking or even knitting or comic books or video games, whatever it might be, there's something for everyone here. Whether you're an indoor person or outdoor person, Denver really does accommodate for it all. It was tough to initially make friends, especially during the heat of COVID, but the main thing that I did to actually get friends and get people to want to talk to me is I actually started a podcast called Big Locals Podcast. And I started that in late 2020 and just wanted to give a place for local businesses and local people, a place to advertise and spotlight their business, especially since a lot of people were laid off or a lot of people wanted to start businesses since they had no income coming in thanks to COVID. So right now I'm no longer running the podcast, but it has definitely helped me just build that connection of like, hey, can I provide a lot of value for you? And with that, people saw that sentiment and they were like, hey, I kind of like this guy. Let's have a conversation. And I got to know a lot of people that way. And this is more of like a life lesson, right? If you just give a lot of value, a lot of people will reciprocate and want to just be a part of your family, especially with all the value that you're bringing to them for free. And so with that Big Locals podcast, I was able to find my tribe of other local business owners and other entrepreneurs, and I absolutely loved it because they were just telling me their story, their failures, their passions, their excitement of starting a whole new business, all built around what they were genuinely interested in. And there were a lot of stories of people just saying, hey, I was working as a server during COVID, I got laid off, everything was closed down, and my hobby became my passion, which became my business. And so from there, I decided to turn it from a passion project into a profitable business. And hearing all of their stories inspired me to transition from a geologist into a real estate agent. And here I am now still being a real estate agent and realtor, informing the public like y'all about the Denver real estate market and what it's like to live here in Denver. I loved every single interview that I had with those guests on the Big Locals podcast. And if you're interested, I still have the podcast up on Spotify, Apple iTunes, I believe, and all this other stuff. But nonetheless, I loved all of that, and they have grown, they have just inspired so many people to start their own business, which brings me to my next point of why I love the Denver local community. It's because it's so supportive and it's so collaborative with each other. For example, if I can describe the farmers markets with only one word, I would say alive. There's love behind the craft, passion towards the drive to make their community better, or like there's enjoyment in having that connection with the customer or which is just your fellow neighbor, right? So all of that is something that I've never seen in the San Diego community in specific, because farmers markets were sort of few and far between, but here in Denver, it happens like every weekend, especially from like April all the way to like November-ish. And even in December and maybe even January, they have winter markets as well. And when you go to these local businesses and decide to buy their product or buy their service, it really does remind you that you're helping pay for their kids' education or their mortgage or their groceries. Like, it is such a good way to keep in tune with the neighborhood around you. And when you combine that feeling with dozens of dogs coming around the farmers markets along with live music as well, it's hard not to smile as you're walking around from booth to booth, right? And if you want a more in-depth look of what my opinions are of the farmers markets within the Denver area, or at least the most popular ones, you should go check out this video. I'll put it up somewhere here. Check out that thumbnail. I went through all of my favorite ones, what was good about them, maybe what's bad about them, and just all in all, I think you would really like it because farmers markets are like the heart and soul, in my opinion, of Denver. On a more collaborative side, I really enjoy seeing a lot of the people I interviewed on the Big Locals podcast blossom into these awesome businesses and having the chefs collaborate as well into this awesome dinner menu that happens every once in a while. Like, it is so cool to see. For example, like Chef Matt Doolin of Get Right's, one of my favorite bakeries in the greater Metro Denver area, he collaborated with the chefs at Dio Mio Pasta, another great place for you to go check out. And they created this like really intimate and local scene with like dinners and excellent looking food as well. So I can't wait to buy my own ticket to be a part of that action. And speaking of the local scene, one thing that I really realized about the Denver area is that the food scene is just exponentially getting better every year that I stay here. I have talked to a lot of people that have lived here in the Denver area for like decades, and they say, hey, the food kind of sucks here. And so coming from the San Diego area, I was like setting the bar really low to not blow my expectations out of the water, right? But au contraire, I'm actually pretty impressed with the Denver food scene here. For example, another one of my favorite bakeries, Pullette Bake Shop over in the Parker area, they were recognized as New York Times one of 22 best bakeries in America. Kind of insane to say, honestly, and it's examples like that that really push me to really spread the word about the Denver food scene here. And continuing on that food scene trend here, the Michelin Guide first came to Colorado back in 2023, finally recognizing 5 restaurants in the Colorado area and giving its first Michelin stars in 2023 for the Colorado area. Now hear me out, it's not your typical like gastropub or American food or burgers and things like that. There's actually some really good international food. Let's say for example, off South Federal, you got Tony Pho or Great Banh Mi's over there. Or if you're interested in, let's say, great Korean food like KBBQ or let's say kimbap or things like that, over in the Aurora area, they just got so many different types of ethnic food, Korean, Vietnamese, even Japanese, and another really good Chinese cafe over there. Yeah, I won't get too far into it, but nonetheless, like, there's something for everyone here, right? I mean, I feel like I'm explaining it pretty well right now. But if you do want to dive a little bit deeper about what the Denver food scene really looks like, I came out with one maybe like last year of the Denver food scene, 46 of my favorite restaurants in the Denver area. You got to go check it out. I'm actually making another one for 2025. Make sure you stay tuned to that. And while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss that video. And you know, this is all for you, and I want to make sure you have a good time here in the Denver area. One of the downsides of having all this high quality food and high quality chefs being here in the Denver area is that you do get what you pay for, right? You get this like higher quality, higher status kind of food, but it just costs an arm and a leg for you to maybe not even feel full, you know what I mean? And so with that, it might make sense like if you were to go out on a date or have some friends that are from out of town visit and you go take them to those restaurants. But let's say if you just want to have a casual meal with like family or, you know, friends that are local here, I'm starting to think that you're trying to find this happy medium of like decent price and decent quality at the same time. And hopefully with videos like the one I made on the food guide, I'll be making more videos like that so that you can understand what it's like to buy certain foods here in the Denver area. Nonetheless, I'm sure you will enjoy the food scene, and if you're ever curious about my personal thoughts about certain areas or certain restaurants, hit me up. Seriously, like all my contact information is down below in the description as well. So shoot me a text and let's go grab some coffee. Seriously. Going back to the idea of comparing San Diego to Denver, a lot of my friends were asking like, okay, so how does it compare? Especially with the weather changes. Winter time is much different here in the Denver area. So what's the big difference here? So me personally, I love that California vibe of just hanging out, chill with friends, nothing is pressing, and I thought I was gonna miss that if I were to come to the Denver area, but lo and behold, that same attitude and lifestyle was still pretty similar over in the Denver area. And not only was I seeing that laid-back vibe, there was also something a little bit extra that I definitely saw from what I mentioned back earlier in this video, is that they also had this sort of Midwestern hospitality along with it, right? So you get this combination of two worlds that I thoroughly enjoy, from like that laid-back West Coast California vibes along with that hospitality of like, hey, come over to my place, come hang out with my family, chill with my dog, let's play a board game and make some friends, right? So I love that combination of the two. It's not necessarily yin and yang, but it's like a really good way for you to make friends, and that lifestyle aspect of it, everyone's just so friendly here, honestly. And not only that, people are very active, and honestly, like, people are beautiful here. Like, they take care of themselves, they eat healthy, they go running, they go hiking, they enjoy the outdoors very often. So with all that, they all have dogs. Everyone likes to just be outdoors and take care of themselves, right? I was actually more encouraged to meet my milestone of run my first 50K, like a 50,000 meter race, which is about 32 miles, give or take. I did it over the Cheyenne Mountain area in Colorado Springs, and it was so easy for me to find other runners to go run with. So if you're ever interested in that, this is the place to go. On a more negative note, what I did notice about comparing the San Diego area with the Denver area is that there are a lot more bad drivers here in the Denver area. And before you start yelling at the screen, let me explain here, right? So San Diego definitely has some like really bad traffic, right? And I'm not gonna deny that at all. But what I did notice is that California has this sort of like standard of like going 5 to 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. So what's my take on driving safely here, right? Which is definitely still possible. So number one, I would say, of course, follow the rules, right? Drive the speed limit, do things like that. Number two is do not go into the passing lane if you're not passing anyone. They take that, and I take that very seriously here. Like, don't go into the way left lane if you're not going to be passing anyone. And then number three, make sure you get an all-wheel or four-wheel drive so that you're able to drive safely in the ice and snow. Another thing I noticed is that Denver is becoming increasingly unaffordable. And when you have a median home price of about $600,000 as of December of 2024, and when I'm recording this, at about like a 5% down payment with the taxes and insurance all included, your monthly payment is looking around like $4,300 per month. It's kind of crazy. And when you compare that $4,300 a month to, let's say, that same home costing just about $2,500 a month in rent, it's really hard to make sense of being a homeowner versus a renter here. Which is why I'm such a strong advocate for people to rent out their basements or rent out an ADU so that they're able to mitigate their mortgage as much as possible. Because in the end, the net worth of renters is usually around $10,000, but the net worth of homeowners in America is usually around $300,000, and that's just from owning a home. And when you're tired of having your rent increase 5% per year because your landlord justifies it as matching inflation, I'd say own a home so that your mortgage pretty much stays the same for the years to come for the life of the loan, right? So why not mitigate that mortgage payment as much as possible? And that's what I help out people with. It is through house hacking, where you rent out basements or rent out rooms. And I often find that a lot of my clients are able to live pretty much for free while they own the home at the same time. So if you're ever curious about that stuff, all my contact information is down below. You can book a one-on-one call with me that's completely free. I mean, like, I want to talk to you guys, right? I swear I have friends here. I'm not trying to sound desperate here. But yes, this is definitely possible, especially as a homeowner in the Denver area. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. So there's a lot of pros and some cons with living in the Denver area. Me personally, I am going to be considering this home for quite a while, and I absolutely love this place. If you're ever curious about any specifics, any regions or neighborhoods about the Denver metro area, hit me up or even leave a comment down below of what you think we should talk about next. Especially living here in the Denver area. So that being said, I appreciate you guys watching and giving my 2 cents about the Denver area, and I'll see you guys next week.